This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Behind those cozy nights at home, thousands of employees at BP go to work every day. People producing more U.S. natural gas. People building grid-scale solar capacity. People turning landfill waste gas into pipeline-quality renewable natural gas. And people delivering all of that power where it's needed. They're part of the more than 300,000 jobs BP supports across the country. Learn more at bp.com/investing in America.
Hey Giants fans, this is Chris Franklin from NJ Advanced Media, and welcome to Talk is Cheap podcast, the show where we discuss all things related to the New York Giants. Now, before we begin, I want to remind you that you can read our content on NJ.com/Giants, and make sure you bookmark that to get the latest Giants news and analysis. Today, I'm joined by Giants beat reporter Ryan Novozinsky. Well, depending on how you look at the way that the Giants season is going lately, you could be happy because they lost again, this time to the Baltimore Ravens by a score of 35-14 last week, or you could continue to be frustrated, which is basically apt because you got a 2-12 team here in the New York, New Jersey area. We'll get to that right now more with Ryan. Ryan, how are you doing, man?
I am doing great. Got a flight out to Atlanta tomorrow. Pretty early. Gonna go see the city. Get a nice place. And I am I think like most Giants fans out there, I'm expecting a loss on Sunday. And if you are a Giants fan, you should this again like we talked about, like you just talked about in the intro there. Losses at this point of the seasons, though, that is a win. The Giants have no wiggle room here. They win and they drop to like 8th in the draft, which would be freaking devastating for them. Um, the prerogative needs to be to lose, no matter what Dayball's job security status is. The best thing for the future of this team is for the team to lose, no doubt about that.
Yes, it is, and we heard the lyrics from the song "Atlanta," where the players play. Well, you don't want the Giants player to play, depending on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
As we enter into this game against the Falcons, right now, Giants currently have the second pick, according to Tankathon. By virtue of a tiebreaker, the Las Vegas Raiders have the number 1 pick overall. Giants are second. Both teams are 2-12. Then you have a bunch of teams, starting with New England Patriots, all the way through the Cleveland Browns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams now, I believe. Yeah, 6 teams with a 3-11 record. So everything can change. But however, the Giants do have 3 games left on their schedule. And I'm going to ask you here, Ryan, when you look at this, will the Giants complete the tank and finish with the top pick, or will they win a game and mess it up along the way?
I'll tell you, I don't think they're going to win a game. That's what I'll say. I don't think they're going to win a game. Atlanta should handle them. I mean, barring whatever Michael Penix looks like, which I think could be pretty good, right? I like when a quarterback gets time under his belt to to really ease into the role of a starting quarterback, and what a bold kind of move for the Atlanta Falcons to and obviously they had no choice, right? But what a bold move for them to make the switch now. It's one of those things where they're still obviously in the hunt or on the bubble or whatever, however you want to call it. But this is a team that they made the switch. They just decided they had enough of Kirk Cousins, right? And they make the switch, but obviously, beside taking out the Penix factor, I think Bijan Robinson. I think this defense they have enough guys to be able to handle this New York Giants team. I mean, for God's sakes, the Raiders might be able to handle this Giants team at this point. Which brings me to my next point: the Raiders, right? Sorry, before I get there, I should say that the Colts, who are also well within the uh, on the bubble, I guess, in terms of this, expanded NFL picture, they should handle Giants no problem. As should the Eagles. Oh my God, as should the Eagles, especially since they have So, something to play for, right? But now let's talk about the Raiders. Okay, the Raiders, they have obviously 3 games left, like most other teams. This Sunday is huge, 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 huge. It would have been even bigger before, but the Jaguars ended up, stealing a game or two. Or sorry, they stole a game, but they're 3-11, and they're facing the 2-12 Raiders. That's I love how it's a 4:25 game. It's just hilarious, right?
Ugh,
Um,
this week it stinks. So
gross.
most of the schedule stinks.
It does, man. It does. Um, but I mean, I'll be glued to that game, right? Because this has huge implications on the Giants' pick. The Raiders win, the Giants control their destiny, right? They lose out, and they'll be good. The Raiders lose, and I don't see the Raiders stealing a game against the Chargers or the Saints. To wrap up the season. Maybe the Saints. The Giants almost did, but it still will be tough. Like Darren Rizzi has this team, winning games at least, right down the stretch. I I don't see any universe. I think. Sorry, there's obviously universes because there's so many 3-11 teams, and obviously the Giants and Raiders are 2-12. The Giants, I don't think they'll win. They better hope to God they don't, though. I mean, it really you look at right now as it stands. I think it's if they lose, they'll drop down to, or if they win, rather, they drop down. They could drop down to as low as 8. And if they manage to win a couple other games, oh my God, man, this would be just devastating for this franchise. That desperately needs what even if it's not a quarterback, like you just need the top talent at this draft because things are bleak right now. They sure are.
It really is. And, when I'm looking at it, it all depends. I think that if you're a Giants fan, you want to be a Detroit Lions fan, a Minnesota Vikings fan, and a Los Angeles Chargers fan. The
Yep.
reason why I say that is I'll start with the Raiders first. If the Chargers have nothing to play for, if they lock up a playoff berth before they know their seeding, I think they rest a lot of guys, especially with Justin Herbert banged up, dealing with ankle, whatever he has, whatever. I think they rest up knowing that they are going to play a wild card weekend, and then they set everybody down. I mean, the Raiders, I just look at them and I'll keep on trying to Brown, but I think the Raiders have a lot to play for. A lot of guys want to prove they want to be on the roster next year, and there's still a lot of head coaching decisions that have to be made from top down. So I think they play hard. If it's win one for the Gipper type scenario where they try to keep his job, okay, yeah, they allow him to play out. They play tough. It's a division opponent. They get some momentum for next year, what have you. As much as that is important to you, that's debatable. But yeah, I think they win that. The reason why I think if it's the Lions and the Vikings is if the Eagles, if that game becomes flex, that becomes the NFC North Championship and it's flex on Sunday night, and the Eagles are still in position to get a number 1 seed, I think they play their starters and they beat the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
If they're locked into the 2 seed, I think they rest everybody, and I can see the Giants playing well enough to win that game because all the Eagles' backups will be in there. And I will laugh very hard in the press box if that happens to see that. It's like, you have one job, Tommy. Do it. Just lose the game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can foresee a situation like that happening. But still, 3 weeks is a lot of time. I'm not discounting the Patriots too. I can see them losing now too.
They're a crapshoot too, man. I mean, all these teams that are that 3-11 rate. I mean, I feel like years past, obviously you have all these teams. It's kind of a race to the bottom, right? This feels a little different. Like it's a lot of teams that are just terrible this year, right? So many 3-11 teams. There's a handful of 4-10 teams. Really terrible, terrible bottom of the draft here, right? Because usually 3-11 gets you pretty comfortably 1 or 2. This year, it's like, holy crap! So many 3-11 teams. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 3-11 teams, 2 2-12 teams, a pair of 4-10 teams. Yeah, it's terrible down there. And then, you know, you kind of like look above that, and it's like, oh man, like these other teams are just still in the hunt. They're still hanging on. Like, I think there's a chance. Yeah, like New Orleans even is still in the playoff picture. Like to an extent, it's craziness to me, man. The Cowboys too. Like, Some of these teams, man, this year is the ultimate crapshoot for the NFL. I think it's, if nothing else, I think it's going to make for, an exciting playoffs because there's so much parity. And that goes, that extends even to the top of the league too, right? Like the Lions are obviously injured now too. The Eagles, you never know kind of what you're going to get. Obviously, lately it's been dominant. The Chiefs, they're the what? Do they have 12 wins now? 11?
Yeah, they I think they're at 13. They got
13,
13,
13,
13 and 1. Yeah.
amazing. 13 and 1, and they feel like a bad football team. So it's point being, what a year for the NFL. I know it's been kind of said to death at this point, but that extends both to the top of the league and the bottom. I think it's going to be a hell of a finish here in the playoffs.
Yeah, no extremes whatsoever. It's all like either there's no middle ground at all. You're either really good, really bad, and then floundering. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of fun in terms of that. Now, say the Giants do finish with one of the top two. They finish right now where they are at the number 2 spot. They have a lot of. We all need to know that they need a quarterback. I mean, obviously they've released Daniel Jones. He's sitting on the practice squad for the Vikings, hoping that he gets a ring somehow. Might be tough, but hey, he's sitting around on there. They have the Giants will have their option of one of 2 players, Shedeur Sanders from Colorado and Miami's Cam Ward. If you're number 2 and knowing what happened last year when you're trying to trade up for Drake May or Jane Dales, what have you, the Giants are trying to do that. If you're sitting at 2 right now, do you sit there and take whoever's not selected by the Raiders, or are you comfortable enough trying to give a couple picks here or there to trade up to one to get the player you want to get, with a quarterback you want to get?
If I'm the GM, which obviously I'm not, I'm doing the trade down method because I think next year's draft class has the potential to be a lot better than this one quarterback wise. But I know that how the Giants operate, and there's not a lot of logic that's put into it. So, anyways, that said, I have become such a big fan, man, of just watching, because this is pretty much the only stuff I can watch that's pertinent to the job lately is just film these quarterbacks, man. These quarterbacks that are coming in. I like Cam Ward a lot, I really do, but I've just become such a big fan of Shedeur Sanders, and I think that he's worth whatever quote unquote risk that there is taking him. Whether it's like having Dion kind of around and like the circus that kind of comes with that. I think that Dion's, definitely there's he's like the parent that would, ask for playing time and at T-ball or whatever, or, in youth basketball. But um, this is he's also a professional, man. He's obviously done it. Was an unbelievable NFL player and unbelievable athlete. And I just think with Shador, I just see a lot of CJ Stroud there, and with almost with less athleticism. I really like his arm strength, and I think he's just a poised quarterback that no matter what his team was facing, whether it was offensive line woes that they dealt with last year, and even at some points this year, and whatever weapons he had. Obviously, Travis Hunter has been phenomenal, and we won the Heisman for a reason. But even when he was injured for a little bit last year, like he was able to keep his team, stat wise, for himself, he was able to kind of stay afloat, and that's with a bad offensive line. I really like Shedeur Sanders. I think they should take him this year. And because and that's only because I just don't think that they're going to do the trade down method, even though with all the position holes that this team has, they probably should. I mean, hell, see what you can get. Like another quarterback desperate team, see what you can get. If you can get a first next year, oh my God, unbelievable. Like, you see what some of these hauls have gotten for these top 2, top 3 picks. Um, maybe you can get that for from another one of these desperate teams, the Browns, the Jets, for crying out loud. I mean, they're obviously a train wreck in and of themselves. See what you can get. I just don't think they're going to do that. And if that's the case, then I think Shador is kind of the guy. I'm really, really liking what I've seen from him. And Cam Ward is not a bad consolation prize. Don't get me wrong. I just really like Shador, and if they get the number 1, I think that's where they should go. Because I think they're going to be going at it with the Raiders there. But if they end up getting number 2 and the Raiders pick Shador, Ward is fine.
Nice. Well, I agree. Like, if I'm stuck with the two, if you stay up there, I think Shedeur is better for the New York market because he's already used to being all that attention. And we know how much that can weigh on a quarterback because not only do you have to worry about learning the scheme, getting the game plan together, learning the verbiage, especially as a rookie, but you have to deal with the New York media. It's a tough deal. It really is. And I think he's already positioned himself be able to handle that with given the attention that's been given on Colorado, and even back to his Jackson State days. I think he's so used to it by now. Not saying that Ward's not, but it's just a whole new animal in terms of that. If I compare the tools for both quarterbacks, I like Ward a little bit better. I like the way that he can. I like if you're trying to envision him in this offense that's built around him. I think if you get the right offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, if you play caller or head coach to do that, he'll make it, simplify it, give him enough reads so it's not throwing enough at the same time. And I think it instantly makes the Giants a contender, at least to win 6-7 games next year, and somebody you can build with. Problem is, I also have a lot of big questions for guys who all of a sudden come out of nowhere, and then they look like, hey, he's a can't miss pick. He can't do this. He's the best thing ever. And it's like, ugh. And then you want to know is, are you going to be in this position again in the future? Are you next year? And I don't know if the Giants are going to be that bad enough, given that they're picking that high. And given that I think Shane's going to be gone, I think anybody else can make, especially when you're picking this high, especially with that many picks in the top 100, you're obviously going to be a better team. So I think there's struggle, but I look at the way I think Ward's your best guy. I agree. Like, if you can get more picks, say if you can only have to fall down to 4 or 5, do it, because then you can sign a stopgap. Hopefully, and the problem is going to be like, you take that, you can use all those extra picks. And if you want to trade up, just go and try to use all those picks, try to get up to 1 or what have you, and get Arch Manning in a couple of years if you want to do that. Cool. Or you can get by, pretty great. A Manning in New York. I wonder how that went the last time. So yeah, something like that. Maybe you try it because you obviously get probably 2 first rounders, maybe 3. I don't know if I have probably at least 2 first rounders. You'll have your own, package them all together next year, move on up, and let the dice roll where they may when it comes to that. But that's enough. Right, talk about draft stuff. Let's go back to something that happened at MetLife Stadium this past week. Again, there was another banner plane that was flying around. And I read your story, and you kind of had an interesting take on it. You were able to actually track the guy down who was able to put these banner planes up there. Can you give us some background how you were able to get that story done and what was like talking to him and the story behind everything that was going here? Because I thought it was really good, man.
Gladly, man. Thank you for that. Yeah. No, listen. So we were in the press box, and the week before, right? There was the first banner that said, "Mr. Mara, please fix this dumpster fire." Obviously, this one says, "Mr. Mara, enough. We won't stop until you fire everyone." So kind of similar thing, and you're thinking with the format, you're like, "All right, Mr. Mara. This sounds so like this has to be the same guy, right?" Turns out it's not. But the first week we did try to track that guy, but I guess he tried to stay anonymous, whoever that person might be. This time I did the same thing that I did the previous week, called the company. Well, at first I tracked the plane, right? You know these like plane tracker websites, right?
Oh yeah.
They're the best for like college football. If your college football team like fires their coach, you look at these plane trackers because you can see like, okay, this guy went from Knoxville, Tennessee to Stillwater, Oklahoma. My college, Oklahoma State. Oh man, OSU's going to hire whoever Tennessee's coach is, right? Like something like that. It's stuff like that and it's like plane tracker season. Everybody uses it. A lot of sports use it, right? All you track these private jets. Well, I used it for this one where it was um, tracking this Cessna plane, and I saw on the little website there's a blurb that said who the owner was, and it was High Exposure Incorporated. Right now, what high exposure is you see these the big planes in the sky that have the banners that tow advertisements. There'll be like Corona advertisement. There'll be like Wawa, like on the beach. You usually see them. Political campaigns, etc. Well, they also do personal message, obviously, and so I reached out to them and I said, "Listen, I know you can't give me the name of the guy, but can you pass along an interview request for him?" Lo and behold, within a couple minutes, the guy reached back out and said, "Hey, I sent it along." And then the plane guy, I guess we'll call him, he reached out to me. I barely watched the game on Sunday. I know the Giants lost to the Ravens, but I was, focusing most of my bandwidth on Plain Guy here. So I got him on the phone and we talked for a long, long time. Sent me over proof of all of the receipts and confirmation emails, et cetera, et cetera. And it was a whole heck of a lot of fun to do because this guy, tapping into the mind of the guy that spent $1,500 on this plane, which actually was kind of cheaper than I imagined. Not only that, but to hear what he would say, his expanded thoughts. If he had longer than just that banner to tow on that airplane, what he would say, and he certainly gave some frank analysis of his favorite team, and he said, his prerogative here was basically, yeah, I want to what you need to do to I guess enact change with the Giants is you need to hit Mara where it hurts, basically. And these are my words, not his, but I'm interpreting what his words were. And where what hurts Mara is his pride, is his ego, right? And for all these planes to fly above MetLife Stadium amid their 100th season, which is supposed to be such a big celebration, right? They're you saw at MetLife, Chris, like how many banners of the 100th anniversary for the Giants do they have? A ton.
A lot.
For it to, yeah, like for this to be the focal point of the media and everything like that, the last couple of games of the season or last handful of games, it's such an embarrassment, right? Like Mara probably wanted us to be covering, a semi-competitive team, maybe not, all the way in the playoff picture, but a team like the Saints that are 5-9 right now, playing kind of for something. They, have a slim chance, but yeah, there's still a playoff chance there. Meaningful games in December. That's what he wanted. He didn't get that, and now we're focusing all of our time on these freaking planes.
Yeah, it's crazy, especially when you look at the not only the planes, but you look at the seats and how much lost revenue has probably happened. The fact that you can buy as much as you can buy for a ticket for sometimes showing up for $1, you could buy a group rates the same price as a beer on Starbucks. Yeah, something's a little wrong with that. Like I did a group outing to MetLife NFL game. Okay, how much does it cost? Well, 13 plus fees and stuff. Oh, okay, and nobody sees that. But yeah, it's gotten to a sideshow in itself. Like you come for all the other attractions. Oh yeah, there's a football game going on. Who cares? It feels like it's almost at that. Now I'm going to ask you. We've seen 2 banners now. There's one more home game left. I want to ask you to put on your Nostradamus hat, get your crystal ball out hat. What do you think the next message is going to be on for the season finale?
Here's my crystal ball prediction. Okay, I think there's going to be a plane at the home finale, and that's fine. I'm sure it'll be maybe some sort of continuation of last time. I don't think it'll be the guy that I talked to that puts it in the sky, but I think copycats will be inspired. I don't know what this one will say. However, I do know that there are some rules, right? You can't, like this guy said, like his initial message was going to be basically just fire Joe Shane and Brian Daboll, but the company shot it down. So you gotta get creative with it. Here's my prediction. I think this next one it's gonna be whatever. Like I actually kind of don't care about the Colts game one. Like I think the story's almost like played out at this point. What I think is going to be the fun one is that this airport is kind of down in South Jersey. Maybe you know where I'm getting at with this.
Yep.
I think the most embarrassing thing for the Mara family would be if one of his fans flew a plane over the link instead of and not no they're still due MetLife Stadium. I very much predict that. But I think the most embarrassing thing for outcome for the Giants would be a plane to fly over the link while the Giants are playing the Eagles. And the Eagles obviously again may have something to play for. And all I would say would be, "Hey, Mr. Mara, are you embarrassed yet?" Like and I think just keep it simple, right? I think keeping it simple and keeping it vague is kind of the message here, right? Um, because I think that's pretty much what would do it for him, right? And maybe you can throw like a Saquon reference in there. Maybe you can throw Xavier McKinney's interceptions numbers, whatever the case may be. I
Oh
think
my!
just really honing in on the embarrassment factor for the Mara family is what if fans out there, like, I'm not advocating one way or another for the Plains. I think it's an entertaining story, but I'm not advocating one way or another. But if you're a Giants fan, I think the Plains are really affecting John Mara. So I guess we'll see if any change is enacted out of it. But as for now, I would just keep the messaging simple and really thought provoking, because the first two have certainly been so.
Now imagine this scenario, and it's very likely could happen. When you look at the way the season's playing out, I think they're going to put the Eagles Giants somewhere around like 4:20. Either I hope they keep it at put it at 1 o'clock. But I just got this weird feeling they put it at 4:20. There's no inside knowledge. I wonder if they put it at 4:25 in the national window. Imagine a banner plane flying Mara around. The Eagles have to play their starters, and the Giants just say they give up. And the same day, Saquon Barkley goes over 2,000 rushing yards.
Oh man,
Imagine
yeah,
that
I
to
was gonna
happen.
say that probably should be like what a little thing too, like, "Hey, Mr. Mara, Saquon has or something like that. I don't know, like whatever the case may be. Just that and the embarrassment factor of the season as a whole are the two things that I think impact Mara the most, and especially his headspace. So again, not recommending anything. Not never condone that, but I think this is something that he's really bothered by. So if you're a fan and you have money you could spend, go ahead. I guess so. If you think that'll make a change, if you really think so, and I guess do your worst.
The holiday season is coming up. You want the best
Yes,
gift? Buy a banner plane.
and cheaper than you think, right? Cheaper than you think. $1,500. I'm surprised. Like hell, like proposals, whatever. Like, I'm surprised more people don't do that.
Well, is Ryan Novozinsky going to hire a banner plane for a personal thing? Let's find this right now. Let's get out.
Oh no.
Oh no. Well, we do have a game to talk about, and we're not going to delve too much into it because we obviously know the current state of the team.
Yeah.
But it's something of note is going to be happening in this game. The Atlanta Falcons made a surprising change, at least in my opinion, a surprising change, and moving on from Kirk Cousins starting in the midst of a chase for a playoff spot, and decided to go with rookie Michael Penix. And to me, it's a little surprising because I know Cousins had the turnover issues. He was he was turning the ball over. He was turning it at really bad. They looked really bad. But you put a young guy, you throw him into the fire right away and say perform, which you would think kind of sets up well for the Giants defense at least. The way it started early, looking against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, I thought they were doing a decent job. It wasn't until the secondary tried to let everything else up and gave everything under the sun, those explosive plays, and bam, next thing you know, they're behind the eight ball. But Ryan, I want to ask you this. What do you think the Giants defense will do against Falcons quarterback Penix, and who was making his first start? And do you think they'll impact him enough to keep this game really close?
Well, for some reason, I'll get to Penix in a second, but I just want to touch on the run game aspect of this, right? Like, you got Bijan Robinson, and he's obviously is who he is. He's really, really good young running back. For some reason, ever since Dexter Lawrence went down, this Giants run defense is just flipped the entire script on their how terrible they were at the beginning. So I'm sure I thought it was kind of a fluke the first game that had happened without Dex, but for some reason it just hasn't come down since. So I guess run defense wise they've kind of got it figured out. Anyways, on Penix, who is they're not going to have to worry about in the run game, because he's like he has the mobility of like 40-year-old Peyton Manning. And he's fast. Like, that's the thing. I think he ran like a 4.4. Really liked Penix coming out of the draft. Because he's got really good straight line speed, but he just doesn't use it. And I think that's because how many knee injuries he's had. But at any rate, the arm strength, right? That is something that has, that's what he was drafted. I think it was it 7th overall, something like that. Whatever it was, he was that's why he was drafted in the top 10, and he's obviously a really good talented young player, but he was always kind of thought kind of like Drake May in a sense, like that you might need to sit him and let him cook a little bit behind, a starter before releasing him to the Wolves. Well, I don't know if I'd call the Giants as a whole the Wolves, but their defense, obviously, you mentioned it. Brian Burns, who's looking for double-digit sacks this year. Kayvon is still, a decent young player. Obviously, they don't have Dex, but the run defense is playing well. This defense still has some guys, right? I know that they're pretty battered right now, but there's still at least some talented players. I think they could put up somewhat of a fight, but the Falcons are a good pass blocking team. So, with Penix's pocket presence, again, he has to have that pocket presence because he doesn't have that mobility factor, and that arm talent. I think this is kind of a perfect storm of a confidence builder game for him, right? Right at the start, because the Giants again are very injured and they weren't good before their injuries. So, why not throw him against the Giants? To at least build that confidence, see if he can spark a little bit of a run here for these Falcons. I'm very curious to see him because again, this is a guy the Giants passed on. So, if he balls out, I mean, I don't think this is spoiling anything, but I think we're just gonna have to. Me, Daryl and I are probably gonna torch the team because why wouldn't you draft him? You needed a quarterback. Oh my god. But I am excited to see what he can do against these Giants because I do think he's a good young quarterback. A little weary that maybe with Drake May it took just a handful of weeks to start. We're talking what? This is week 15, 16, and you're throwing him in kind of a desperation mode kind of way. Maybe that's a little odd, but let's see what he can do. And I really like Atlanta's offensive coordinator Zach Robinson. Obviously, went to the same college as me, and I've been kind of want him to replace Gundy as the head coach there, but that's neither here nor there. I won't get into a whole tangent on that. But I think now that you've now that you're taking away Kirk Cousins out of the picture, we could, and a 38-year-old washed Kirk Cousins at that's thrown however many interceptions the past couple of weeks. And you're replacing him with a young, talented arm in Michael Penix. I think you're finally going to be able to see what this, young, talented offensive coordinator could do to go with. Again, like I said, I'll use the same. I will use the same adjectives again. Young and talented Michael Penix. I can't wait to see how that symbiotic connection kind of goes.
If I'm them, and I'm trying to figure out a way to do that because it's a tough way to decide how you defend a young quarterback. Do you just drop them and try to make them guess and let your four rush, or do you bring pressure? And in this play, I think this is one of the things where I'm still on the line from Remember Titans. You blitz all night.
Yep.
You pressure over and over, and you make sure that he lowers that eye level from looking to that secondary, and he brings it down to in front of him because he's so used to seeing that pressure. And if you do that, I think then you're taking away Drake London downfield. Kyle Pitts, who should be a witness protection for the way that Atlanta's used him since he's come into the league, he's out. Bijan Robinson has to stay in more in pass blocking, or he becomes your outlet pass, and then you adjust the defense accordingly, have your guys go swarm to tackle him that way, but he's closer to the line of scrimmage. You blitz, you pressure, and I know that's against the MO, but you need to bring so much pressure that he's like, I want to be back on the sideline a little bit. Now I see why Kirk was hurting a little bit, and I see why he's a little sore. He's doing his treatment and stuff like that. You want Penix to see so much pressure. I mean, what do you got to lose? If you get beat deep, it's par for the course. You're just putting up more points, and you're losing, and you get the trap, what have you. But you just want to make yourself known to him. Give him his welcome to the NFL moment. Mm-hmm. Let him get hit and just confound him and bruise him up a bit. And I think that's where you come. I think you'll get a couple. I really do think the Giants are going to get a couple of turnovers in this game. I do.
No, definitely.
I can see it.
And I think it's the same, like that kind of unleashed mindset, like you said, just blitz, blitz, blitz. Do it every freaking down if you have to. I think that kind of has to go, to the offense too. Go for it on fourth downs. Just go. And I know Dayball kind of has in the past couple weeks. But go for it more, man. Like, you literally have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose. You're probably going to be fired. And, Mara's mind is kind of, so warped to thinking like wanting, he's so anti-tank that, he would maybe be impressed by a couple wins down the stretch here, which is insane to say, but it's the truth. Just go for it, man. Like play like Madden. Like play like you're, playing Madden, dude. Like, oh my gosh, it's crazy when you just no more conservative mindset. Not that he, really has, but I'm just re-preaching that, right? And that obviously, again, goes to the defense too. I agree with you on that.
Or you're just going to, what are you going to do? A fullback dive, halfback dive.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, 4 verts and then, yeah, nah. They got to hope they don't use those things. But it's going to be interesting to see, man. Well, Ryan, we've come to the end of another show. I thank you very much once again for joining us. And what do you have going on coming up for this weekend besides the game?
Well, I am gonna go eat a lot of barbecue because again, I got some. I think we talked about this off the show, but I got some, PTO that I've been using up. So, not really having to go to many practices. So, I'm just gonna enjoy some barbecue in Atlanta. I'm gonna enjoy the, the place that you recommended to me. I think it's called Pours. That's gonna be a good time. I'm gonna enjoy my time in Atlanta because I like to enjoy these road trips. They're a good time, so get the most out of them. You know what I mean?
Good move. And you never have to go. If you ever want dinner or show, there's always a Waffle House nearby. You know the
right,
show.
Baby.
I mean, that one too. Well, thanks again, and thank you all for listening to this show. Once again, if you can read all of Ryan and Daryl Slater's stuff on NJ.com/Giants. It'll have all the analysis from Sunday's game, how it pertains to the potential draft pick, and a lot. So for Ryan, I'm Chris. Everybody have a good one. See ya.